At the end of the day, Marvel Rivals is a team game, but I got to a point where I was sick of hearing that, and I wanted to find the best ways to give myself the best chance to win. And in this episode of Shotty's Yap Session, we're going to talk about how you can take control of your matches again. And if you guys are new here, this is a series where I yap about a topic, and you turn me on in the background while you do something else, or if you really want to, you can watch some mid-gameplay. Let's get right into it. Now, the first one I implemented, because it was the easiest one for me to implement, was learning when to die and learning how not to die. And I know that sounds self-explanatory, but when I played, especially when I played like DPS, Punisher was one of the big ones, I would always find myself dying. Even when we lost the team fight, I'd watch better players than me, and I'd see that even if they lost a team fight, sometimes they'd still get away, sometimes they'd still live, sometimes they get back to spawn. Or they just put themselves in positions where they could get away much easier than I did. I'd usually end up playing near the tank or with the team, and it would just get me killed. And every single game I started going into, I started thinking about, where's my exits? Where can I play? Where could they come at me from? Because I think that when we play, we're just autopiloting. Most people, when I see them play, they all play like they're a tank. They all push up, they're just rushing the enemy, doing damage, fighting, and playing as if we have infinite health. Compared to, let's say, okay, there's a health pack behind me. I can play on this angle because I can jump back and get to the health pack. But on top of not putting yourself in good positions to live, I've seen people fight when 3 people are dead already. There's some fights that you just have to learn to accept that it's over, you know? Now, I don't mean don't take the shots, you know? I've told people that all those clips you'll see on YouTube and TikTok and all that, they're all the person that said, you know what? I'm going to fight anyways. And they went for it. You miss every shot you don't take, right? But there are times that 2 of your teammates are already respawned and you're still fighting. At that point, you're throwing. Because by the time you die and then respawn, especially in solo queue, your team would have already been fighting again without you. And if you're trying to give yourself the best chance to win, you have to play around the enemy team being the best players ever and your team not knowing how to play the game at all. So if you see your team already died, give up, lose the fight, or play near the fight in a safe position that you can still get out of and get a pick so that whenever your team respawns and goes rushing right back in instead of thinking, you gave them an advantage, right? And this goes for tanks. This goes for everyone except for maybe supports, because unless you're like Adam Warlock or Cloak and Dagger, maybe, you're not killing anybody. Luna Snow can kill too, but a lot of the supports do a lot of damage, but they're harder to hit. And if you die, it's much more valuable than a tank or a DPS dying. If one of us die, it's like, we can still win the fight without us. If you die, the fight's over. You guys are more valuable than everyone else. So your job is never die. Basically take this tip and turn it into, I never die no matter what. Don't turn that into, I'm going to disengage every fight and let my team die even before the fight's lost. Because I've seen a lot of support players, they just give up on the fight. They've already left before 3 people are dead, because they're just like, well, guys, we lost, it's over, and they throw the game. And I understand, it's like, okay, well, I don't want to get picked, I gotta be a KD warrior, but I've seen people throw tons of fights because they disengage too early. It's better to just die with your team than disengage before it's over, because if you disengage before it's over, you guarantee the loss. If you fight until it's over, at least you gave your team the best chance of winning. Now, speaking of giving your team the best chance of winning, the second tip is changing characters. There are so many times where in solo queue, just me playing hero roulette has won us the game, especially characters like Moon Knight. I'll go from Hela, and then I'll be facing like, let's say a Groot and I don't know, a Thing or something like that. And I'd switch to Moon Knight because I know it's free ult charge, and then I destroy them. I completely win off of that purely because I took the time to switch characters. Now, some examples are, if you're a tank, if they have a dive comp, play Thing. If your team is dying too much, play Magneto. If your team isn't doing enough damage, play Doctor Strange. If you have a Spider-Man that's throwing, play Venom to try and help him. If your team's playing dive, play dive. Things like that. Now, each game is their own, so it's hard to give full generalizations, but that generalization is pretty good for most games. Now, for DPS, there's way too many characters to just give a generalization, but if you're missing frontline damage, a character like Punisher will do really well, or even Moon Knight, or if the backline is never touched and you guys can't seem to break through, play a dive character, or play someone like Star-Lord that can get through the enemy team without dying, and reposition without dying. You have to be constantly changing in solo queue, because your teammates won't. Most of the time, they won't even do 2 healers, 2 tank, or anything. They'll just do 7 DPS. So there's no chance they're going to switch comps based on what you need. So you be the one that does it. There's so many games I've won by just switching to Moon Knight because he does so much damage and he'll carry the DPS role if you put your damage properly into the enemy team, which is another point we can talk on a little bit. It has to be its own video because there's so much to talk about and how to really do damage. But too many Moon Knights just keep shooting the tank. And too many Moon Knights are too scared to shoot the tank. It's very much a balance that you have to get. Sometimes shooting the tank is exactly what you need to do. If you shoot the tank, you get half of his health down. His healers have to heal bot him. And then your dive DPS can actually get a kill on somebody else. And the same thing is true for if you're doing damage to the backline. You're doing damage to the backline, then your team can finally kill the tanks. And you have to be able to identify, okay, well, this tank has never died. He's always at full health, so I have to pressure the healers. Or you say, every time I do damage to this tank, he gets pretty low before he gets healed. Maybe I can kill him. Maybe I should put my Ankh down and do a combo on him. Now, speaking of combos, near the end of this video, I'm going to give you guys one of the best tips I learned to solo climb, and it works for any role. But before we get to that, the next tip is, listen, nobody likes VOD reviewing. I know, okay? There's a very small amount of people that want to improve at the game and want to VOD review. So, I don't VOD review. I don't like VOD reviewing because it's boring. I mean, it's funny that a coach says it because I've been coaching now. I've coached probably 130 people now. And all I do is VOD review. But I don't like doing it for my own games. I find it more time efficient to play the game more and do this one thing that I do. And that one thing is every death I get, I sit there and during the respawn time, I do two things. One of them is I take note of the enemy's ultimate charge. Because if you didn't know, in the kill cam, it shows you how much ult they have. And the other thing is I sit there and think what I did wrong and how I could have played that differently. Now, sometimes it's a simple ability usage you should have saved. Or maybe you should have used a movement ability to reposition. And sometimes it's just, why was I up there? But every game you play, in that little bit of time you have between deaths, you got nothing better to do. So you might as well think about, what did I do wrong? How do I fix it? And how can I improve for the next fight? And you'll also learn that a lot of enemies have the same habits that they keep doing. Let's say Moon Knight seems to always dump his whole load on his Ankh on the Rocket Raccoon over and over. So you fish and you wait to see him go and do that, and you punish him for it, right? And pay attention to what the enemies do will save you tons in this game. Because most players, unless you're really high rank, they usually don't switch it up. They have one set thing that works for them, and they keep playing like that and try to rank up. That's natural. I mean, I do it a ton. Everyone does it a ton. But you want to be able to take note of it, learn your enemy's habits, and punish it. And learn what your habits are. Well, why do I keep going in? Every time I fight this Moon Knight, I seem to just use my movement ability to engage with him. Why don't I just wait for his Ankh to go down and break it? And little stuff like that stacks up really quickly in this game. Because you only need to win a few team fights to win the game. Unless the enemy team's just staggering the whole time, then it's a little different. Now, before we get to my top 3 tips, I think this is a good point to have the middle of the app. And if you guys are new here, this is the point in the video where I usually talk to the audience. And if you want to, you can skip right past it. I always leave a timestamp for it. Now, if you guys haven't been watching some of my older videos, recently, in January, my grandmother passed away, and I was living with her. And, oh my god, bro, life has been hell. As you see, I haven't uploaded in like a week now. But yeah, no, life has been completely hell on earth. The house I was living in with her, I moved out. I'm living with my dad now. And, bro, my room is a 1x1 box. we had to play Jenga to stack everything up, but I'm figuring it out. I'm trying to figure out how to work again, you know? A new place, everything changed, everything messed up. It's hard to work, you know? It's hard to get back in that flow. But I've been making out all right, and hopefully this video does well because, oh my god, I've been getting like 10 views a day the past week since I haven't uploaded anything. But yeah, it's been something. I also completely closed my coaching for a while too. Speaking of that, if you want my coaching, there's 2 links in the description. One of them is for an entire free month of coaching for Marvel Rivals, which is, I mean, how could you beat free for a month? And then there's also my private one-on-one coaching, so you guys can check that out. If you guys want to join my Discord server, I'm much more active in there talking about stuff and giving updates and sneak peeks on videos and everything like that. But I just wanted to let you guys know I love you guys, and I hope you enjoy the video. Let's get back to it. Now, for the 4th tip, learning to force space. Now, there's a few ways you can do this. As a tank, you kind of just push. you do damage, and when I say push, a lot of people just, oh boy, hold W. Please, God, don't do that. You need to use cover while you push. You need to push up with a brain, you know? If there's cover, use it. If there's a lot of damage coming out, hide behind the wall. A lot of better tanks pretty much use their shield as a second health bar, if you have a shield. If you don't have a shield, you really have to play cover. But if you're Magneto, if you're Strange, use cover and use your shield as a second health bar and start taking space. You don't even really need to do damage in this game. A lot of people will run away just because you're pushing up. They'll be full health and you'll be even low sometimes, and people be like, oh God, no, he's coming, run away. And it works. So take advantage of that and just hold W for your team. Now, I'm not saying go into their spawn, right? But on especially King of the Hill maps, bro, all the King of the Hill maps, so many people will sit there and sit on point and let the enemy team walk 90% of the way to point from spawn and then fight them there. Do you realize that you're letting them walk 90% of the way to the point for free? Full health, no damage taken, no nothing. You cannot stand on the point, right? If it's almost at 99 and you want to make it cap faster, fine. But there's no good reason to stand on the point except for that. All you're doing is making it easy for the enemy team. You have to push up. You have to take the space. How do you know how much space to take? One way is you can watch better players. If you don't, then just try it. Push up and lose. Now, one thing I've heard, especially from coaching people, around like all the people I've coached around like Diamond, they made it to Diamond by people pleasing almost. They're good tanks, and they tell me stories about how, oh yeah, I used to be super aggressive, but every time I play, everyone would tell me just back up, and then we just sit on point and wait. Because every time I'd coach them, I'm watching them like, why are we sitting here? It's like, oh yeah, I used to push up, but people told me not to. That's something that's going to happen. And if you're solo queue, you got to just cry about it and deal with it. But keep in your head that you should be adaptable. If your team doesn't want to push, you can't push. So play closer to your team, play around them. But don't just let that shape your gameplay. Be able to still push up, be able to still rush, be able to still take space and force space. And even when your team's scared to push up a little bit then, right? Force some space. Because at least if they're hiding on point and you're a little bit off point, that's still more space than they were going to take. Now, for DPS players, to force space, you need to play off angles. You have to play places that can force you to get a kill or do damage. Now, a lot of people, when I say that, is like, oh, well, I don't play Star-Lord, I don't play Black Panther, I don't play this, I don't play that. Doesn't matter. Almost every single DPS in this game, I would say every single one, but I don't know. Maybe there's something that someone will comment to be like, well, actually, this one can't flank or can't play off angles. But I'm pretty sure everyone can. But when I say off angles, I don't mean, oh boy, let me go in the back line and sit behind them and snipe them. No. Play high ground, play low ground, play in a room to the right of them or the left of them. Just don't play where your tank is, basically. Play a little to the side of your tank, just so the enemy team has to look around, just so it makes it a little bit harder for them to play, fight, and win. You just don't want to make it so that they can do whatever they want for free. And a lot of the time, especially, maybe I'll use the gameplay. If you guys don't know, I basically reuse a lot of my gameplay footage because I haven't had time to play. Like I said earlier, if you watched the middle of the app session, my grandmother passed away, so I stopped playing the game as much because I had to move, I had to go do the funeral stuff, I had to do this, do that. So it was a lot. But I basically have been reusing the exact same gameplay from like season 0. But in the gameplay, one of them has me chasing Rocket Raccoon, and he's just running the whole time. But that whole time, I didn't kill him for ages, but he didn't heal his team. And then you'll see the whole enemy team dies because I was keeping him from healing his team. And stuff like that. Yes, I was Star-Lord in that clip, so it's a little different. But let's say I'm Hela. I'm sitting on high ground, headshotting him, or body shotting him over and over again so that he has to dash, heal himself, come back out. Dash, heal himself, come back out. And during that time, it gives my team a chance to do something. Compared to if I don't do that, if I just keep shooting the tank, nobody dies. Nothing happens. So you have to think about damage not as getting kills, but getting people off of angles or irritating people so that they focus you, or anything to get them to stop looking at your team. Get them to look at you. Get them to look around. Get them to be afraid. Just like Psylocke. If you shoot someone and then you go invisible, everyone's sweating. They're like, oh my god, she was just here. Where is she? Oh no, she's gonna kill me. And if you ask any strategist player, oh my god, bro. After you've died to a Psylocke 3 times or twice or anything, every time you hear that invisibility, you're sweating. You're looking around like, guys, Guys, Psylocke's behind us. Guys, even if she's not even near you, but you're sweating looking around. Guys, Psylocke. And you end up not healing your team purely off of the fear of her being there. And that's what you want to do as a DPS. You want to put that fear in them. And then for supports, how to force space, you got two options. Cry in the corner or play a support that can do damage. Mantis is a great one. Adam Warlock is a great one. Preferably cooldown healers. The issue with cooldown healers is they're just not as good into high DPS team comps. Like if the enemy team does a lot of burst damage really fast, a Mantis is throwing because Mantis just can't keep up with that healing. But prioritize number one, don't die, and keep the people that are taking space alive. Because if you're not Adam Warlock, if you're not somebody that can just passively heal and do a ton of damage, you're going to throw. Because it's almost always better to keep everyone else alive rather than doing DPS, because most characters do more damage than you. Even Adam Warlock, he's like the Hela of healers. Hela does more damage. It's better for him to just heal Hela than DPS. Now, he's a bad example, obviously, because he can DPS and heal, but you get what I'm saying. It's almost always better to keep your teammates alive because your teammates do more damage than you, pretty much. And you're the most important person on the team. If you look up any target priority guide, except for mine because mine's better, they all say, healers number one. Everyone kill the healer. Why do you think that is? Because you guys are more important than everyone else. You guys are the ones that decide the game. There is very little passive healing in this game. There's like standing on point, you get passive healing, and that's it. So without that, we're doomed. We need you. So prioritize that over everything. Now, for the fifth tip, forcing ult combos. Your teammates, guaranteed at least one of them will be dumb. 100%. It's a true fact. It's just the way solo queue goes. One person will be dumb. So manage their cooldowns for them. You see their ultimate's almost up. Let's say you're Moon Knight and you have a Groot who almost has his ult. Save yours for a few more seconds and try to combo. Let's say you're Namor and Luna Snow popped her ult. Try to save yours for when she switches to damage boost, right? Things like that, because they're not going to combo with you. If they do, you got blessed by matchmaking, right? Most people do not know how to play this game, especially if you're below like Grandmaster. Most people are spoon-fed. They're like, me no play. So play for them. Manage their ultimates. Save yours. Let's say, I keep using Moon Knight as an example because he's a great example for it, for a lot of it, and that's why I love playing him for solo queue. But I'd find out how good is my group player. He would get his ultimate once after I'd get 3. So I would pop my first 2 off cooldown, make space with it, zone off the enemy team with it, then save that third one for him. Some games, I'll get a Groot who is just as fast as me. He's insane. He's doing tons of damage. So then I'll just sit on my first one instead. But you need to be looking at that. You need to be thinking about those things. And even as a support, you have to sometimes think for your teammate support. Let's say you have your Luna Snow and their Mantis. Every time they hear anything happen, they insta-pop ult. So bet on that. If you know you both have the same ult at the same time, wait for them to use theirs. Now, this isn't like, oh, guaranteed, this is definitely going to work, because sometimes they might be stupid. They might just save it. But learn what your teammates do. If they insta-pop their ult, you save yours. Because I can't tell you how many games have just been purely lost off of both supports pop their healer ult at the exact same time. As soon as they do that, it's over. The game's usually lost after that, because if the enemy team's good, they just outcycle you. They just completely outcycle you. So manage the enemy team. And now, for the last 2 tips. The first one, aim train. I cannot tell you how important practicing your aim is to solo carry. Even if you're a melee character, get some basic aim practice in. Now, if you guys want a full aim training guide or an aim guide from Marvel Rivals, leave a comment down below or subscribe so you'll be notified when I put it out. But you need to practice. I can't tell you how much I have solo carried because I've gotten 60 kills as Hela, 70 kills as Hela. You need to be able to aim. Even if you're, let's say, Luna Snow, right? Luna Snow needs aim. Let's say you're Cloak and Dagger. She still needs some aim. You still need to aim a little bit. So don't neglect it. And I've done aim coaching for a long time now, which you can also get my aim coaching in the description. But in my aim coaching, I had a lot of people that would join it. It was their first time ever playing mouse and keyboard. In about a month of coaching, they were all better than most players. It's very easy to get better aim than 90% of people if you have guided help or if you just do basic practice, because most people don't practice at all. Look at the bronze community of this game. Do you think they even know where head level is? Come on, let's be so real. But really basic practice. And if you want some basic practice, I have a practice range routine on my channel, so check that out. But if you want the best tip I can give you, check out this video that's 44 minutes of pure knowledge to make yourself so good that your team doesn't even matter anymore. I love you guys. Have a good one. God bless you.